Chapter 49. In the last chapter, Zhu Yu was seized with sudden illness as he watched the fleets of his enemy. He was borne to his tent, and his officers came in multitudes to inquire after him. They looked at each other, saying, "What a pity our general should be taken ill when Cao Cao's legions threaten so terribly. What would happen if Cao Cao attacked?" Messengers with the evil tidings were sent to Sun Quan, while the physicians did their best for the invalid. Lu Su was particularly sad at the illness of his patron, and went to see Zhu Jiang to talk it over. "What do you make of it?" said Zhu Jiang. "Good luck for Cao Cao, bad for us," said Lu Su. "I could cure him," said Zhu Jiang, laughing. "If you could, Wu would be very fortunate," said Lu Su. Lu Su prayed Zhu Jiang to go to see the sick man. They went, and Lu Su entered first. Zhu Yu lay in bed, his head covered by a quilt. "How are you, General?" said Lu Su. "My heart pains me. Every now and again I feel faint and dizzy. Have you taken any remedies? My gorge rises at the thought." "I could not. I saw Zhu Jiang just now, and he says he could heal you. He is just outside, and I will call him if you like. Ask him to come in." Zhu Yu bade his servants help him to a sitting position, and Zhu Jiang entered. "I have not seen you for days," said Zhu Jiang. "How could I guess that you were unwell? How can anyone feel secure? We are constantly the playthings of luck, good or bad. Yes, heaven's winds and clouds are not to be measured. No one can reckon their comings and goings, can they?" Zhu Yu turned pale, and a low groan escaped him, while his visitor went on. "You feel depressed, do you not? As though troubles were piling up in your heart." "That is exactly how I feel," said Zhu Yu. "You need cooling medicine to dissipate this sense of oppression. I have taken a cooling draught, but it has done no good. You must get the humours into good order before the drugs will have any effect." Zhu Yu began to think Zhu Jiang knew what was really the matter, and resolved to test him. "What should be taken to produce a favourable temper?" said Zhu Yu. "I know one means of producing a favourable temper," replied Zhu Jiang. "I wish you would tell me." Zhu Jiang got out writing materials, sent away the servants, and then wrote a few words. "To defeat Cao Cao, you have to use fire, or in your wish, but wind from the east. This he gave to the sick general, saying, 'That is the origin of your illness.'" Zhu Yu read the words with great surprise, and it confirmed his secret opinion that Zhu Jiang really was rather more than human. He decided that the only course was to be open and tell him more. So he said, "Since you know the cause of the disease, what do you recommend as treatment?" "The need of a remedy is very urgent. I have no great talent," said Zhu Jiang, "but I have had to do with humans of no ordinary gift, from whom I have received certain magical books called Concealing Method. I can call the winds and summon the rains. Since you need a southeast breeze, General, you must build an altar on the southern hills, the altar of the 7 stars. It must be 9 spans high, with 3 steps surrounded by a guard of 100, and 20 humans bearing flags. On this altar I will work a spell to procure a strong southeast gale for 3 days and 3 nights. Do you approve?" "Never mind 3 whole days," said Zhu Yu. "1 day of strong wind will serve my purpose. But it must be done at once, and without delay. I will sacrifice for a wind for 3 days from the 20th day of the moon. Will that suit you?" Zhu Yu was delighted, and hastily rose from his couch to give the necessary orders. He commanded that 500 men should be sent to the mountains to build the altar, and he told off the guard of 100, and 20 to bear the flags, and be at the orders of Zhu Jiang. Zhu Jiang took his leave, went forth, and rode off with Lu Su to the mountains, where they measured out the ground. He bade the soldiers build the altar of red earth from the southeast quarter. It was 240 spans in circuit, square in shape, and of 3 tiers, each of 3 spans, in all 9 spans high. On the lowest tier he placed the flags of the 28 houses of the heavens, and 4 constellations, on the east 7 with blue flags, on the north 7 with black flags, on the west 7 with white flags, and on the south 7 with red flags. Around the second tier he placed 64 yellow flags, corresponding to the number of the diagrams of the Book of Divination, in 8 groups of 8. 4 men were stationed on the highest platform, each wearing a Taoist headdress, and a black silk robe embroidered with the phoenix and confined with wide sashes. They wore scarlet boots and square-cut skirts. On the left front stood a man supporting a tall pole bearing at its top a plume of light feathers to show by their least movement the wind's first breathing. On the right front was a man holding a tall pole whereon was a flag with the symbol of the 7 stars to show the direction and force of the wind. On the left rear stood a man with a sword, and on the right rear a man with a censer. Below the altar were 44 men holding flags, umbrellas, spears, lances, yellow banners, white axes, red banderoles, and black ensigns, and these were spaced about the altar. And the appointed day Zhuge Liang, having chosen a propitious moment, bathed his body and purified himself. Then he robed himself as a Taoist, loosened his locks, and approached the altar. He bade Lu Su retire, saying, "Return to the camp, and assist the general in setting out his forces. Should my prayers avail not, do not wonder." So Lu Su left him. Then Zhuge Liang commanded the guards on no account to absent themselves, to maintain strict silence, and to be reverent. Death would be the penalty of disobedience. Next, with solemn steps he ascended the altar, faced the proper quarter, lighted the incense, and sprinkled the water in the basins. This done, he gazed into the heavens and prayed silently. The prayer ended, he descended and returned to his tent. After a brief rest, he allowed the soldiers by turns to go away to eat. Thrice that day he ascended the altar, and thrice descended, but there was no sign of the wind. During that time, Zhu Yu with Cheng Pu and Lu Su and other military officials on duty sat waiting in the tent till the wished-for wind should blow and the attack could be launched. Messengers were also sent to Sun Quan to prepare to support the forward movement. Huan Gai had his fire ships ready, 20 of them. The 4 parts of the ships were thickly studded with large nails, and they were loaded with dry reeds wood soaked in fish oil and covered with sulphur, saltpeter, and other inflammables. The ships were covered in with black oiled cloth. In the prow of each was a black dragon flag with indentations. A fighting ship was attached to the stern of each to propel it forward. All were ready and awaited orders to move. Meanwhile, Cao Cao's 2 spies, Kai He and Kai Zhang, were being guarded carefully in an outer camp far from the river bank and daily entertained with feasting. They were not allowed to know of the preparations. The watch was so close that not a trickle of information reached the prisoners. Presently, while Zhu Yu was anxiously awaiting in his tent for the desired wind, a messenger came to say that Sun Quan had anchored at a place 30 miles from the camp, where he awaited news from the commander-in-chief. Lu Su was sent to warn all the various commanders to be ready the ships and their weapons, sails and oars, all for instant use, and to impress upon them the penalties of being caught unprepared. The soldiers were indeed ready for the fight and yearning for the fray, but the sky remained obstinately clear, and as night drew nigh no breath of air stirred. "We have been cajoled," said Zhu Yu. "Indeed, what possibility is there of a southeast wind in midwinter?" "Zhuge Liang would not use vain and deceitful words," replied Lu Su. Towards the 3rd watch, the sound of a movement rose in the air. Soon the flags fluttered out, and when the commander-in-chief went out to make sure, he saw they were flowing toward the northwest. In a very short time the southeast wind was in full force. Zhu Yu was, however, frightened at the power of the man whose help he had invoked. He said, "Really, the man has power over the heavens and authority over the earth. His methods are incalculable, beyond the ken of God or devil. He cannot be allowed to live to be a danger to our land of the south. We must slay him soon to fend off later evils." So Zhu Yu resolved to commit a crime to remove his dangerous rival. He called 2 of the generals of his guard, Ding Feng and Zhu Sheng, and said to them, "Each of you take a party of 100 troops, one along the river, the other along the road, to the altar on the mountains. As soon as you get there, without asking questions or giving reasons, you are to seize and behead Zhuge Liang. Rich reward will be given when you bring his head back." Zhu Sheng and Ding Feng went off on their errand, the former leading dagger and axemen going as fast as oars could propel them along the river, the latter at the head of archers and bowmen on horseback. The southeast wind buffeted them as they went on their way. High was raised the 7 stars altar. On it prayed the sleeping dragon for an eastern wind, and straightway blew the wind. Had not the wizard exercised his mighty magic, naught had Zhu Yu's skill availed. Ding Feng first arrived. He saw the guards with their flags, dropped off his steed, and marched to the altar sword in hand. But he found no Zhuge Liang. When he asked the guards, they told him, saying he has just gone down. Ding Feng ran down the hill to search. There he met his fellow Zhu Sheng, and they joined forces. Presently a simple soldier told them, saying the evening before a small, fast boat anchored there near Sand Spit and Zhu Jiang was seen to go on board. Then the boat went upriver. So Zhu Sheng and Ding Feng divided their party into two, one to go by water, the other by land. Zhu Sheng bade his boatmen put on all sail, take every advantage of the wind. Before very long he saw the fugitives' boat ahead, and when near enough, stood in the prow of his own and shouted, "Do not flee, O instructor of the army. The general requests your presence." Zhu Jiang, who was seated in the stern of his boat, just laughed aloud, saying, "Return, and tell the general to make good use of his soldiers. Tell him I am going up river for a spell, and will see him again another day." "Pray wait a little while," cried Zhu Sheng. "I have something most important to tell you. I knew all about it, that Zhu Yu would not let me go, and that he wanted to kill me. That is why Zhao Zilong was waiting for me. You had better not approach nearer." Seeing the other ship had no sail, Zhu Sheng thought he would assuredly come up with it, and so maintained the pursuit. Then, when he got too close, Zhao Zilong fitted an arrow to the bowstring, and standing up in the stern of his boat cried, "You know who I am, and I came expressly to escort the directing instructor. Why are you pursuing him? One arrow would kill you, only that would cause a breach of the peace between two houses. I will shoot and just give you a specimen of my skill." With that he shot, and the arrow whizzed overhead, cutting the rope that held up the sail. Down came the sail, trailing in the water, and the boat swung round. Then Zhao Zilong's boat hoisted its sail, and the fair wind speedily carried it out of sight. On the bank stood Ding Feng. He bade his comrade come to the shore, and said, "Zhu Jiang is too clever for anyone, and Zhao Zilong is bravest of the brave. You remember what he did at Dangyong, at the Long Soak Bridge. All we can do is to return and report." So they returned to camp and told their master about the preparations that Zhu Jiang had made to ensure safety. Zhu Yu was indeed puzzled at the depth of his rival's insight. "I shall have no peace day or night while he lives," said Zhu Yu. "At least wait till Cao Cao is done with," said Lu Su. And Zhu Yu knew Lu Su spoke wisely. Having summoned the leaders to receive orders, first Zhu Yu gave orders to Gan Ning, "Take with you the false deserter Kai Zhong and his soldiers, and go along the south bank, showing the flags of Cao Cao till you reach the Black Forest, just opposite the enemy's main store of grain and forage. Then you are to penetrate as deeply as possible into the enemy's lines and light a torch as a signal. Tai He is to be kept in camp for another purpose." The next order was Taishi Sai's to lead 2,000 troops as quickly as possible to Huinzhou and cut the enemy's communications with Hefei. When near the enemy he is to give a signal. If he sees a red flag, he will know that our Lord Sun Quan is at hand with reinforcements. Gan Ning and Taishi Sai had the farthest to go and started first. Then Lu Meng was sent into the Black Forest with 3,000 troops as a support to Gan Ning, who was ordered to set fire to Cao Cao's depot. A fourth party of 3,000 troops was led by Ling Tong to the borders of Yiling and attack as soon as the signal from the forest was seen. A fifth party of 3,000 under Dong Zai went to Hanyang to fall upon the enemy along the river Han. Their signal was a white flag. And a sixth division of 3,000 commanded by Pan Zhan would support them. When these 6 parties had gone off, Huan Gai got ready his fire ships and sent a soldier with a note to tell Cao Cao that he was coming over that evening. 4 naval squadrons were told off to support Huan Gai. The 4 squadrons, each of 300 ships, were placed under 4 commanders, Han Dan, Zhu Tai, Zhang Tin, and Chen Wu. 20 fire ships preceded each fleet. Zhu Yu and Cheng Pu went on board one of the large ships to direct the battle. Their guards were Ding Feng and Zhu Sheng. Lu Su Kanzi and the advisers were left to guard the camp. Cheng Pu was greatly impressed with Zhu Yu's ordering of the grand attack. Then came a messenger bearing a mandate from Sun Quan making Lu Zun leader of the van. He was ordered to go to Kichun. Sun Quan himself would support Lu Zun. Zhu Yu also sent 2 command units, one to the western hills to make fire signals and the other to the southern hills to hoist flags. So, all being prepared, they waited for dusk. Liu Bei was at Zaiku anxiously awaiting the return of his adviser. Then appeared a fleet led by Liu Kai, who had come to find out how matters were progressing. Liu Bei sent to call him to the battle tower, and said the southeast wind had begun to blow, and that Zhao Zilong had gone to meet Zhu Jiang. Not long after, a single sail was seen coming up before the wind, and Liu Bei knew it was Zhu Jiang, the directing instructor of the army. So Liu Bei and Liu Kai went down to meet the boat. Soon the vessel reached the shore, and Zhu Liang and Zhao Zilong disembarked. Liu Bei was very glad, and after they had inquired after each other's well-being, Zhu Liang said, "There's no time to tell of any other things now. Are the soldiers and ships ready?" "They have long been ready," replied Liu Bei. "They only await you to direct how they are to be used." The three then went to the tent and took their seats. Zhu Liang at once began to issue orders. Zhao Zilong, with 3,000 troops, is to cross the river and go to the Black Forest by the minor road. He will choose a dense jungle and prepare an ambush. Tonight, after the fourth watch, Cao Cao will hurry along that way. When half his troops have passed, the jungle is to be fired. Cao will not be wholly destroyed, but many will perish. "There are 2 roads," said Zhao Zilong. "One leads to the southern regions, and the other to Jingzhou. I do not know by which he will come. The south road is too dangerous. Cao Cao will certainly pass along the Jingzhou road so that he may get away to Zucheng." Then Zhao Zilong went away. Next, Zhu Liang said to Zhang Fei, "You will take 3,000 troops over the river to cut the road to Yiling. You will ambush in the Hulu Valley. Cao Cao, not daring to go to South Yiling, will go to North Yiling. Tomorrow, after the rain, he will halt to refresh his troops. As soon as the smoke is seen to rise from their cooking fires, you will fire the hillside. You will not capture Cao Cao, but you will render excellent service." So Zhang Fei left. Next was called Mai Zhu Mai Fang and Liu Feng. They were to take command of 3 squadrons and go along the river to collect beaten soldiers and their weapons. The 3 left. Then Zhu Liang said to Liu Kai, "The country round Wuching is very important, and I wish you to take command of your own troops and station them at strategic points. Cao, being defeated, will flee thither, and you will capture him. But you are not to leave the city without the best of reasons." And Liu Kai took leave. Then Zhu Liang said to Liu Bei, "I wish you to remain quietly and calmly in Fanku, in a high tower, to watch you work out his great scheme this night." All this time Guan Yu has been silently waiting his turn, but Zhu Liang said no word to him. When Guan Yu could bear this no longer, he cried, "Since I first followed my brother to battle many years ago, I have never been left behind. Now that great things are afoot, is there no work for me? What is meant by it? You should not be surprised. I wanted you for service at a most important point, only that there was something standing in the way that prevented me from sending you," said Zhu Liang. "What could stand in the way? I wish you would tell me. You see, Cao Cao was once very kind to you, and you cannot help feeling grateful. Now, when his soldiers have been beaten, he will have to flee along the Huron road. If I sent you to guard it, you would have to let him pass. So I will not send you. You are most considerate, instructor. But though it is true that he treated me well, yet I slew 2 of his most redoubtable opponents, Yan Liang and Wen Chu, by way of repayment, beside raising a siege. If I happened upon him on this occasion, I should hardly let him go. But what if you did? You could deal with me by military rules. Then put that in writing." So Guan Yu wrote a formal undertaking and gave the document to Zhu Liang. "What happens if Cao Cao does not pass that way?" said Guan Yu. "I will give you a written engagement that he will pass." Then Zhu Liang continued on the hills by the Huron Valley. "You are to raise a heap of wood and grass to make a great column of smoke and mislead Cao Cao into coming. If Cao Cao sees the smoke, he will suspect an ambush and will not come," said Guan Yu. "You are very simple," said Zhu Liang. "Do you not know more of war's ruses than that? Cao is an able leader, but you can deceive him this time. When he sees the smoke, he will take it as a subterfuge and risk going that way. But do not let your kindness of heart rule your conduct." Thus was his duty assigned Guan Yu, and he left, taking his adopted son Guan Ping, his general Zhu Kan, and 500 swordsmen. Said Liu Bei, "His sense of rectitude is very profound. I fear if Cao Cao should come that way, my brother will let him pass. I have consulted the stars lately, and the rebel Cao Cao is not fated to come to his end yet. I have purposely designed this manifestation of kindly feeling for Guan Yu to accomplish, and so act handsomely." "Indeed, there are few such far-seeing humans as you are," said Liu Bei. The 2 then went to Fanku, whence they might watch Zhu Yu's evolutions. Sun Kaian and Jian Yang were left on guard of Zaiku. Cao was in his great camp in conference with his advisers and awaiting the arrival of Huan Kai. The southeast wind was very strong that day, and Cheng Yu was insisting on the necessity for precaution. But Cao Cao laughed, saying, "The winter solstice depends upon the sun and nothing else. There is sure to be a southeast wind at some one or other of its recurrences. I see nothing to wonder at. Just then they announced the arrival of a small boat from the other shore with a letter from Hon Kai. The bearer of the letter was brought in and presented it. Cao Cao read it. Zhu Yu has kept such strict watch that there has been no chance of escape. But now some grain is coming down river, and I, Hon Kai, have been named as escort commander, which will give me the opportunity I desire. I will slay one of the known generals and bring his head as an offering when I come. This evening at the third watch, if boats are seen with dragon-toothed flags, they will be the grain boats. This letter delighted Cao Cao, who, with his officers, went to the naval camp and boarded a great ship to watch for the arrival of Hon Kai. In the Southland, when evening fell, Zhu Yu sent for Kai He and bade the soldiers bind him. The unhappy man protested, saying, "I have committed no crime." But Zhu Yu said, "What sort of a fellow are you, think you, to come and pretend to desert to my side? I need a small sacrifice for my flag, and your head will serve my purpose. So I am going to use it." Kai He, being at the end of his tether, unable to deny the charge, suddenly cried, "Two of your own side, Kenzi and Ganling, are also in the plot, under my directions," said Zhu Yu. Kai He was exceedingly repentant and sad, but Zhu Yu bade them take Kai He to the river bank where the black standard had been set up, and there, after the pouring of a libation and the burning of paper, Kai He was beheaded, his blood being a sacrifice to the flag. This ceremony over, the ship started, and Hon Kai took his place on the third ship. He merely wore breast armor and carried a keen blade. On his flag were written 4 large characters: Van Leader, Hon Kai. With a fair wind his fleet sailed toward the red cliffs. The wind was strong and the waves ran high. The cow in the midst of the central squadron eagerly scanned the river, which rolled down under the bright moon like a silver serpent writhing in innumerable falls. Letting the wind blow full in his face, Cao Cao laughed aloud, for he was now to obtain his desire. Then a soldier, pointing to the river, said, "The whole south is one mass of sails, and they are coming up on the wind." Cao went to a higher point and gazed at the sails intently, and his officers told him that the flags were black and dragon-shaped and indented, and among them there flew one very large banner on which was a name, Hon Kai. "That is my friend the deserter," said he joyfully. "Heaven is on my side today." As the ships drew closer, Cheng Yu said, "Those ships are treacherous. Do not let them approach the camp." "How know you that?" asked Cao Cao. And Cheng Yu replied, "If they were laden with grain, they would lie deep in the water. But these are light and float easily. The southeast wind is very strong, and if they intend treachery, how can we defend ourselves?" Cao Cao began to understand. Then he asked he would go out to stop the approaching fleet, and Wenping volunteered, saying, "I am well used to the waters." Thereupon Wenping sprang into a small light craft and sailed out, followed by 10 cruisers which came at his signal. Standing in the prow of his ship, Wenping called out to those advancing toward them, "You southern ships are not to approach. Such are the orders of the Prime Minister. Stop there in midstream." The soldiers all yelled to them to lower their sails. The shout had not died away when a bowstring twanged, and Wenping rolled down into the ship with an arrow in the left arm. Confusion reigned on his ship, and all the others hurried back to their camp. When the ships were about a mile of distant, Hon Kai waved his sword, and the leading ships broke forth into fire, which, under the force of the strong wind, soon gained strength, and the ships became as fiery arrows. Soon the whole 20 dashed into the naval camp. All Cao Cao ships were gathered there, and as they were firmly chained together, not one could escape from the others and flee. There was a roar of bombs, and fire ships came on from all sides at once. The face of the 3 rivers was speedily covered with fire, which flew before the wind from one ship to another. It seemed as if the universe was filled with flame. Cao Cao hastened toward the shore. Hon Kai, with a few troops at his back, leaped into a small boat, dashed through the fire, and sought Cao Cao. Cao Cao, seeing the imminence of the danger, was making for the land. Zhang Liao got hold of a small boat, into which he helped his master none too soon, for the ship was burning. They got Cao Cao out of the thick of the fire and dashed for the bank. Hon Kai, seeing a handsomely robed person get into a small boat, guessed it must be Cao Cao and pursued. He drew very near. He held his keen blade ready to strike, crying out, "You rebel! Do not flee! I am Hon Kai." Cao Cao howled in the bitterness of his distress. Zhang Liao fitted an arrow to his bow and aimed at the pursuer, shooting at short range. The roaring of the gale, the flames, kept Hon Kai from hearing the clang of the string, and he was wounded in the shoulder. He fell and rolled over into the water. He fell in peril of water when flames were high. Ere casual bruises had faded, an arrow struck. Hon Kai's fate will be told in the next chapter.